Deep in downtown Atlanta, the Trust Company Bank sealed a chamber behind a 20-ton door built with poured concrete and interlocking steel bolts. This high-security chamber required two highly restricted keys to open. For nearly a century, the bank used this space to store a handwritten sheet of paper. The origins of that paper trace back to the years immediately following the Civil War. A pharmacist and Confederate veteran named John Pemberton began mixing herbal tonics in his lab to cure his own dependency on morphine. He eventually formulated a non-alcoholic syrup sweetened with sugar and flavored with caffeine-rich cola nut and coca leaf extract. Pemberton sold his creation for 5 cents a glass, but he faced a strict legal hurdle. In the United States, securing a patent requires publicly disclosing the exact ingredients of your invention. To protect his recipe from competitors without revealing it to the public, absolute secrecy became his only viable defense strategy. When Atlanta businessman Asa Candler bought out the recipe in the late 1880s, he scaled production and heavily promoted the brand. But as the popular drink spread rapidly across the South by the 1890s, imitators quickly copied its taste and color. This flowchart illustrates the supply chain fragmentation strategy Candler used to fend them off. Raw ingredients were divided and assigned coded merchandise numbers. Each supplier only received instructions for their specific component, never seeing the complete list or understanding where their piece fit into the final blend. All those disparate channels fed into a highly classified flavor base known as merchandise number 7. Within corporate headquarters, only 2 senior custodians knew the finished blend in its entirety. As a strict operational rule, those 2 executives were forbidden from traveling together, ensuring a single plane crash wouldn't erase the recipe. Keeping the formula strictly in the minds of 2 men worked for a regional operation, but scaling into a global corporate empire would soon force the company to turn this abstract mental secret into a verifiable physical object. That logistical shift occurred in 1919 when a syndicate led by Ernest Woodruff purchased the company. To close the $25 million deal, Woodruff's investors secured a massive bank loan. Their lenders demanded collateral, insisting on holding the company's only true asset, the formula itself. For the very first time, the complete recipe had to be written down. Charles Howard Candler drafted the document by hand, line by line. Using a typewriter would have created a vulnerability, as the physical impact of the keys leaves legible carbon traces on the fabric ribbon. A handwritten page existed as one singular object, with a clear, trackable lineage. The document remained locked away in the Trust Company of New York until Woodruff finally repaid the debt in 1925. He then reclaimed the paper and moved it back home to Atlanta under the protection of heavily armed guards. Once sealed inside the Atlanta bank vault, the company established rigid access protocols. The inner safe required 2 separate keys, and every periodic audit mandated the synchronized presence of both a bank officer and a Coca-Cola executive. The obsession with continuous custody stretched well into the Cold War. Internal memos from that era outlined contingency plans to rapidly relocate the formula to a fortified bunker in the Appalachian foothills in the event of an atomic emergency. Maintaining this physical possession satisfied federal regulators and insurance providers. By locking a specific piece of paper behind a 20-ton door, the company met the legal definition of a protected trade secret. That intense physical security held perfectly until 2006, when a trusted Coca-Cola employee systematically gathered confidential lab data and fragments of the formula. She reached out to Pepsi, offering to sell the restricted materials for $1.7 million. Instead of buying the intel, Pepsi executives immediately contacted Coca-Cola and the FBI, leading to a covert sting operation where undercover agents intercepted the transaction. The employee received an 8-year federal prison sentence, and Coca-Cola publicly thanked their oldest rival for their corporate integrity. 5 years later, the company faced a different kind of breach. The radio program This American Life published a decades-old newspaper photograph showing a 19th century notebook belonging to an Atlanta pharmacist named Everett Beale. This animated chart breaks down the exact contents found in that notebook, specifically targeting the elusive 7X flavor base. It lists a specific blend of essential oils, including orange, lemon, and nutmeg, mixed with citric acid and vanilla. The leaked ingredients sparked global headlines and public debate among reporters. Yet without access to the vault, the findings remained impossible to verify. This reaction demonstrated that the public was increasingly drawn to the myth of the unbreakable vault itself. By the 21st century, executives recognized that a century of institutional secrecy had evolved into a powerful branding asset. The mystery was the marketing. In 2011, the company decided to extract the safe from the decommissioned SunTrust bank vault and bring it out into the light. To ensure the chain of custody remained unbroken, the safe was loaded into an unmarked police convoy, moving through a confidential route in downtown Atlanta under continuous human supervision. They relocated the safe to the World of Coca-Cola Museum, placing it behind thick glass and theatrical lighting. By putting the physical vault on display while keeping the paper completely off limits, they turned a private legal necessity into a lucrative public spectacle. Today, U.S. food labeling laws mandate that corporations publicly list what goes into their products. You can read the base ingredients, water, sugar, caffeine, and caramel color, on the back of any bottle. But this diagram highlights the FDA loophole that keeps the recipe hidden. The phrase natural flavors acts as an umbrella term, allowing the company to group complex, proprietary mixtures of approved sources, completely masking the chemical breakdown of the 7X blend. Trade secret law provides indefinite protection for the specific quantities, ratios, and preparation methods hidden behind that umbrella term. Asa Candler and Ernest Woodruff originally utilized a 20-ton vault to protect a fragile piece of paper from local competitors, but the resulting physical chain of custody ended up engineering an unbreakable corporate mythology that continues to sell billions of bottles worldwide.